Hey guys, so if you want to see how I DIY this dresser, please stay tuned and watch this video. Alright, so I got a lot of questions on how I did this DIY. So it is a 9-drawer dresser. And it has some silvers and marbles and some grays. And I'm going to show you how I did it. I don't have actual footage of me doing it, but I will help explain it and hopefully you guys will understand what I'm saying. Alright, I'm going to tell you what you're going to need for a project like this. You're going to need paper towels. You're going to need painter's tape. You're going to need some colored spray. I chose the metallic silver. You're going to need some paint, some cleaning solution, which is water and bleach. You have a sanding block. You're going to need the d.c.fix vinyl peel and stick papers, some gloves, a scraper, some sandpaper, brushes, paint brushes and rollers, and an X-Acto knife, as well as a drill or a screwdriver. Alright, so I got this dresser for about $35, $40 at the Value Village. You can find some amazing pieces. If you just look around, you can go to any garage sale, yard sale, thrift shop, or even people leave them out on the streets for garbage. So if you see any with potential, definitely pick it up and then you can revamp it and turn it to your own and make it all nice and new all over again. So what you're going to need to do first, you're going to need to take out all of the hardware. So take out the handles and any hardware. If there's doors, you're going to have to take off the doors and the hardware hinges. Take out all of the dressers. You don't want anything left inside of the dresser base or whatever you're doing this on. But for this example, we're going to talk about my unit. So you want to take everything out and take them all apart. And you're going to clean everything from the inside and the outside as well as the hardware with, I used a water and bleach mixture. So I cleaned the whole inside. I cleaned the inside of the actual base itself, the whole dresser base. I cleaned the bottom of it, I cleaned the legs. You can use a little scrubber as well, something with a bit more of a coarse bristle. You can do that too. You want to make sure you get all of the dirt and oils and, you know, depending on where you get it from, you want to definitely make sure you have it 100% clean. Alright, so once you've taken out everything and removed everything and cleaned everything, you want to make sure that you lay a tarp on the surface that you're working on. If you're doing this outside, make sure you lay it in a more flat area so it doesn't get wobbly and that you can get the legs really nice and good. So lay a nice big tarp out, have enough room so that you can go from the sides as well as the front, and you can even do the back as well. So the first step is you want to get a sanding block. It has a nice rough texture to it, and also some sandpaper. I got them all from the dollar store basically, and a paper towel roll or a towel because you want to be able to remove any of the excess dust. So first step is you want to sand a good amount of your unit so that it's all nice and smooth. You don't have to sand it to the point where the finish is completely off. You just want to give it a nice rough texture for the paint to stick on. And I tend to go more in a circular motion. I kind of do crisscrosses. I go with the grain as well as against the grain because you want it just a little bit more rough than usual, like you would for your nails. So after you do that, just take your paper towel and wipe everything completely down and make sure again that there's no residue left on the surface that you're going to be doing. So once you have all the sanding done, your next step is actually to start painting. So you can put the paint in a color tray, you can put it in a cup, whatever you want to do. I did use a roller as well for the size just because it was such a large surface that brush strokes in general is not a cute thing. I always do a coat with the brush first to get all the nook and crannies, especially with this unit here. There's a lot of little nooks here in the sides and in the corners. So you want to make sure you get all that as well as the legs. So that'll help if you use a smaller brush as well. Multiple size brushes is always great. So make sure you get a brush and make sure it's, you get all the surfaces, including underneath the surface. Let me just pull this out for you here. There you go. So you can even paint this whole thing here. Of course, I was obviously lazy and I just wanted the job done, and I knew only a certain amount of this dresser would be exposed from the bottom, but you can paint this completely, or you don't need to, but just note that you will have some exposed wood there, and we want to cover it as best as we can, so why not? Why not go ahead and paint it? So the paint that I'm using c.i.l Real Life. This is an amazing coat. This is actually the leftover paint that I used for my wall right behind it, actually. It's a really nice, soft, matte to satin finish. It's a customized color that I created over there. It's closer to like more of a cement, a cool tone cement color. And then I just bought this brush at the dollar store. Any brush is fine. You can use a sponge brush, but preference is up to you at that point. And rubber gloves, because I have my nails and I don't want to get them dirty and stained. I have to use kitchen gloves because any other glove, my fingernails go right through them, and we don't want none of that. So go ahead and do your first layer of paint with your brushes. Again, make sure you get all of your nook and crannies. I did the whole base first. I did the dresser afterwards, so you have to give it a good 2 to 3 hours of drying time before you do your next coat. So go ahead and paint whatever areas you want to paint. You can always pre-map it out in your mind what areas you want to paint first, and worst comes to worst, you can scrape it off and start again, but I would rather paint the whole unit and cover what else I need to cover afterwards. So go ahead and do your first coat of paint with your brush. Second coat, you're gonna do it with the roller, and again, I always make sure I do the brushes in these little nook and crannies first, and then I go over it with a round brush, or a round painter's brush, or whatever you wanna call it. Roller brush, there you go. And go ahead and let that sit for the second time, again, about 2 to 3 hours before you touch it again. So then your third coat, you can go ahead and put a top coat on if you feel that you've gotten enough coverage. Luckily, I've been only needing 2 with this paint. It's really nice and thick and creamy, and it went on really smoothly. And there's you won't see much brush strokes in there or roller marks. So it's a pretty good consistency when it comes to the type of paint that we're using. So after you're done the second coat, you can go in and you can put a sealer or a gloss or whatever else you want to put on top, or a third coat. For me, I left it at 2 coats, only because I really like this soft matte / satiny coat that is on it right now. And I would prefer it that way because my focal point of this dresser is actually the hardware, and of course the marble. Alright, so I like to do my hardware in between my dresser front versus the base. So you're going to take everything out, and you want to make sure that you completely clean and scrub all the hardware, especially if it has little details here and here. Or you can actually buy new hardware and replace them however you like. But I actually really like the design that it has now. It's really nice and straight cut. It has some little details in there, and also I have all matching ones. Some units that you'll find, they'll be missing certain handles, certain doorknobs, so you want to make sure that it matches the idea that you want. I was actually going to replace these ones and put a crystal doorknob in the centers of them, but again, I just really like this design, especially after it was sprayed, so I kept that original hardware. So the spray that I got the Restorium metallic specialty spray, and it does have a shiny metallic finish, which I really like, and this is my go-to metallic brand for everything that I would need it for. So this is a really great one. Again, it's really great quality, and it goes on amazingly, it dries amazingly, and it has a great finish, and you usually don't need like a top coat or anything else on top of that. So with the hardware, I would actually go and spray the back of them first. So flip everything upside down, including the handles. You want to spray the back, and it's really good that these sit for a good 2 to 3 hours after you spray it. And you want to make sure you spray it about 12 inches away, 12 inches away from from whatever you're spraying. Only because when you put too much, you're going to get drippage. And you're also going to get too much of a concentrated look, and you might get some kind of water ripply, uneven distribution with the sprays. So just make sure you do spray it from a distance in a ventilated area. Alright, so here comes the fun part, the very, very fun part, and the questions that everybody asking me. How did I get that marble? And guess what? It is so easy. It is the d.c.fix peel and stick. I think they're like a vinyl paper that I use. I got these from Amazon. They're about $15 each, and they came within a week, so it was perfect. And you're gonna need the X-Acto knife and just a scraper or some sort of a bubble remover, basically. So this paper here is great because it actually has a measurement, like a measuring scale in the back, like a grid. So you'll be able to get a more accurate result on what you're gonna wanna, how much you're gonna use for the surfaces. So after everything is dried, you wanna take your surface and you wanna measure it on what, how much you're gonna need. And thankfully, that one whole roll actually fits it fits all the length of this, and it's a pretty long dresser. But as you can tell here, there's a little bit of a gap. I would say it's about a 2 and a bit inch gap. But you know what, at the back of the unit, doesn't matter, just grab another roll, line it up, make sure you match it well, try not to overlap it, and that'll be like a nice snug fit. It won't look like it blends with each other, but it does from a distance. And plus, again, it's gonna be underneath my shoe rack, and don't mind my wall, I just took off all my vanity lights and my mirrors that are there before with my makeup table. So my shoe rack is going to be sitting on top, so you won't really see much of the detailings in the back. So you want to go ahead and lay that on. I usually start from the corner first. You can start on either corner. So take your paper, peel the backing off, and it has a really nice stick to it. Peel the corner off, stick it on the corner, and you want to start smoothing it out with your scraper. And again, it's going to be a little bit hard to do with one hand. So you want to scrape that all the way down, and you want to take all the bubbles out. So I always start from the corner and I work my way out. So keep going here, 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 keep going all the way down. And you want to make sure that you lay the paper nice and flat. So you might need to put some weights on there as well, just because it is rolled. Once you get all the bubbles out, as much as you possibly can get, if you have any remaining bubbles, I would say get a little safety pin or a sewing pin and just stab the hole ever so slightly, and then take your scraper and smoothen it out. You can use a business card, you can use a credit card, whatever you want, but this is actually an edging tool for paint, and it actually fits and works really nice, and it doesn't scratch the surface of what you're doing. Okay, so that is your easy step. Now, afterwards, when you are ready to cut, you want to take your X-Acto knife and you want to lay it at a good 45-degree angle as you're cutting all the way around. Take your X-Acto knife. I like to go really consistent and not remove my hand from it whatsoever. So you want to get all your corners, you want to do that, and keep going all the way around till everything is completely done. If you see any imperfections or any lifts, you can go ahead in and just start lightly scraping it and to take any other excess off to get it as perfect as possible. And another thing is that if there's a unit that has a lot of holes, scratches, any big gashes, you can take a wood filler, which is like a putty. You can take it and just apply it on there prior to anything, prior to painting, and that way you'll get a nice flush, flat surface to work on. But because this unit is pretty good condition, and I don't mind if that there's, any little imperfections here, if I really did, then I would have puttied it and made sure that that is a perfect edge. But I like that it has a bit of a vintage look to it, as well as a nice lived in kind of a look. So that's what you're basically gonna do for this. And with this dresser, I'm so thankful that I didn't have to do as much painting as I obviously didn't want to do. So these dressers, I decided to just keep them all completely marble. I was gonna do a trimmage of silver all around, but I decided, you know what, this looks great as it is. So it's the same process. You want to take your drawers out, lay it down on its back side, lay down your paper, cut around your edges. So I'm very thankful that this roll actually fits both drawers with a little bit of extra trimmage. So that's a great way, and it pretty much fit all three sections. So keep doing that, and then you want to let that sit and make sure that it's nice and clean. Get it out of the way if you don't need it. For this part was a little bit difficult for me. I decided that the unit itself, this was originally the same gray that I painted, so I thought it was just too much gray, so I decided to spray paint that silver as well. So I had to go in and tape in all of this outer surface first, all the edge, spray paint it, let that sit, and then I would lay my vinyl paper on top whenever it was dry, lay it in, and then just slightly cut a little bit of the edges. It was a little bit tricky to do, but it's not perfect, but I definitely got as much as I possibly can to make it as nice as I can. And look at the shine that comes through that silver paint. You can almost see my face. Hey! And so that's gonna be done. So once all your unit is dry, once everything is, you know, covered how you want to cover it with whatever color you want, all your vinyl paper is laid in, now you're done. You basically just need to screw back in your hardware and your handles, screw it back in, put your drawer in the way that it was, and that's it. That is all, guys. So I turned this ugly ass unit into something that's a lot more classier, something that's a little bit more versatile with the things that I'm gonna need. And my house is pretty much all white and gray as well as black scheme. And this is going to be amazing for what I need it for. I'm going to put a top, you know, a bunch of shelves all full of shoes. Make sure it's covered. It's going to look beautiful. I absolutely love this unit and I'm really proud. And this is my second unit that I've done this to. There'll be another video for the other one up very, very shortly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this.